What if I told you that the feeling of being mentally slow, foggy, and forgetful after a poor night's sleep isn't just tiredness? What if it's the audible echo of a silent, invisible battle being waged within your own brain? We often dismiss it. We have some coffee, push through the day, and blame our fatigue on stress or simply getting older. But the truth is far more serious. There is an insidious and vastly overlooked threat to our long-term brain health, a quiet, smoldering fire that, night after night, slowly degrades the very connections that make you who you are. This isn't the sharp, hot inflammation you feel from a cut or an injury. This is a chronic, low-grade inflammation, a hidden process often fueled by one of the most common and disrupted aspects of modern life: our sleep. So many people I speak with feel like their mind is betraying them. They struggle to recall names, lose their train of thought mid-sentence, or feel like they're walking through a mental fog they just can't seem to clear. They worry in quiet moments if this is the beginning of an inevitable decline. They attribute it to aging, assuming it's a natural part of the journey. But for a vast number of people, it is not. It's a sign. It's a symptom of a deeper issue that we have the power to address. The profound link between a seemingly simple act, rest, and the vitality of our mind is one of the most important health discoveries of our time. Recognizing this connection transforms how we view sleep. It ceases to be a passive activity, a mere off switch for the day, and becomes what it truly is: the most crucial, active, defensive strategy you have for preserving your mind's clarity, sharpness, and resilience for all the years to come. I am Dr. Lucas Mason, and in my more than 30 years of caring for patients grappling with cognitive challenges and neurological health, I have seen how the simple, consistent act of prioritizing restorative sleep can dramatically turn back the tide on what many believed was irreversible cognitive decline. It's a story I've seen play out time and time again, and it's one filled with hope. Before continuing, if you haven't subscribed yet, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any health tips designed especially for you. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. If not, give it a thumbs down to help us improve. So let's begin by understanding the nature of this invisible fire. When we hear the word inflammation, we typically think of something obvious: a swollen ankle, a red and painful cut, the heat of a fever. This is acute inflammation, the body's heroic and immediate response to injury or infection. It's your immune system rushing to the scene, deploying its cellular first responders to fight off invaders and begin the healing process. It's a necessary, life-saving fire. But the inflammation we're discussing today is a different beast entirely. It's chronic, low-grade inflammation. Imagine not a bonfire, but a single smoldering ember in a vast forest. It doesn't produce much light or heat. You could walk right past it and never know it was there. But left untended, that one ember can, over months, years, and decades, slowly and silently burn through the undergrowth, weakening the entire ecosystem until one day, the oldest trees begin to fall. This is what's happening inside the body, and particularly inside the brain. This type of inflammation is a persistent, low-level activation of the immune system. There's no obvious injury, no invading bacteria to fight. Instead, the immune system is stuck in a state of constant low alert, trickling out a steady stream of inflammatory chemicals, known as cytokines, into your bloodstream and tissues. These aren't the overwhelming flood of chemicals needed for an acute crisis. They're a slow, steady drip like a leaky faucet. Over time, this constant drip corrodes everything it touches. It damages the lining of our blood vessels, disrupts the function of our organs, and contributes to nearly every major chronic disease of aging. from heart disease to diabetes. And when this smoldering fire reaches the brain, the consequences are profound. Your brain is protected by a highly selective barrier, the blood-brain barrier, which is designed to keep harmful substances out. But chronic inflammation can weaken this fortress, making it more permeable. This allows those inflammatory cytokines circulating in your body to seep into the sacred space of your brain. Once inside, they activate the brain's own specialized immune cells, called microglia. In a healthy state, microglia are the brain's housekeepers. They prune unused connections, clear away cellular debris, and support the health of your neurons. But when they are chronically activated by inflammatory signals, they switch from being nurturing gardeners to being overzealous soldiers. They start releasing their own wave of inflammatory chemicals, creating a self-sustaining cycle of inflammation directly within the brain tissue itself. This is what we call neuroinflammation, and this is the smoldering fire that slowly, methodically degrades your cognitive health. It doesn't happen overnight. It is a subtle erosion, a gradual wearing down of the vital connections or synapses between your neurons. Think of your memories, thoughts, and skills as intricate pathways woven through a dense forest. Neuroinflammation is like a constant acid rain falling on that forest. At first, you don't notice the damage. But over time, the leaves wither, the branches become brittle, and the pathways become overgrown and difficult to navigate. This is the biological reality behind brain fog, the reason for those memory lapses. It's not just a feeling, it's a physical process of degradation. And the most common, potent fuel for this fire, the thing that keeps that ember glowing night after night, is the disruption of our most fundamental restorative process: sleep. The connection between how we sleep and this silent fire in the brain is direct, powerful, and deeply consequential. For a long time, we thought of the brain as being somewhat separate from the body's immune system, protected by its barrier. We now know this is not true. The brain and the immune system are in constant communication, and sleep is the critical time when that conversation is supposed to be one of healing and restoration. When sleep is inconsistent, short, or fragmented, that conversation turns hostile. Let's look at what happens on a typical night of poor rest. Perhaps you stay up too late working or watching a screen. Maybe you have a drink too close to bedtime, which fragments your sleep later in the night. Or perhaps you suffer from a condition like sleep apnea, where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts. Each of these disruptions, even minor ones, sends a distress signal through your body. Your system is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol. Your body doesn't get the chance to complete its full cycles of deep sleep and REM sleep, the very stages where crucial repair work is done. For the brain, this is a state of emergency. Remember the microglia, the brain's immune cells? When you are sleep deprived, they perceive this as a threat. They don't differentiate between a bacterial invader and the physiological stress of exhaustion. In response, they go on high alert. They begin producing those inflammatory cytokines I mentioned earlier. Chemicals like TNF-alpha, interleukin-1, and interleukin-6. These are the very same molecules your body would use to fight off the flu. So after a night of poor sleep, you wake up with a low level of these flu-like chemicals circulating in your brain. Is it any wonder you feel achy, unfocused, and mentally slow? That feeling is not just in your head. It's a genuine physiological state of neuroinflammation. You are, in a very real sense, experiencing the cognitive symptoms of a low-grade sickness. This isn't a one-time event. Imagine this happening night after night, week after week. The occasional bad night is something the brain can recover from. But when inconsistent sleep becomes a pattern, the microglia become chronically activated. They never get the signal to stand down and return to their housekeeping duties. Instead, they remain in their aggressive inflammatory state. This creates a vicious cycle. Inflammation disrupts sleep architecture, making it harder to get the deep restorative sleep you need. And the lack of restorative sleep, in turn, fuels more inflammation. You get stuck in a downward spiral where your brain is perpetually on fire, slowly damaging itself while you sleep, or rather, while you fail to sleep properly. This subtle erosion is precisely why so many people experience a slow, creeping cognitive decline they can't explain. The damage to the synapses, the connections between neurons, is particularly devastating. These connections are where learning and memory happen. When they are constantly bathed in an inflammatory soup, they become less efficient. New connections are harder to form, and existing ones can be weakened or even eliminated. The hippocampus, the brain region critical for forming new memories, is especially vulnerable to this inflammatory damage. This is why memory lapses are often one of the first signs that something is wrong. You're not losing your mind. You are experiencing the predictable consequence of a brain that is being denied its essential period of anti-inflammatory maintenance. Recognizing this powerful link is a complete paradigm shift. The battle for your long-term brain health isn't just fought in the gym or on your dinner plate. It is won or lost every single night in your bed. Let's make this real. I want to tell you about a patient of mine, a man I'll call Robert. Robert came to my office a few years ago. He was 58, a successful accountant, a man known for his sharp mind and meticulous attention to detail. But he was terrified. For the past year, he told me, his mind had felt like it was slipping away. He would walk into a room and forget why he was there. He struggled to find common words during meetings, leaving him feeling embarrassed and incompetent. He was misplacing things constantly: his keys, his glasses, his wallet. His wife had noticed he was asking the same questions over and over. "Dr. Mason," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I watched my father disappear into Alzheimer's. I know what it looks like. I feel like I'm walking down the same path." His fear was palpable. He had done everything he thought was right. He ate a decent diet, exercised a few times a week, and he was still working and challenging his mind. We ran a full battery of tests, including cognitive assessments and brain scans. Structurally, his brain looked healthy for his age. There were no obvious signs of the kind of atrophy we'd expect to see in early Alzheimer's disease, but his performance on memory and processing speed tests was definitely below where it should have been. So I started asking him about his life, not just his diet or his exercise, but his daily rhythms, his stress, and most importantly, his sleep. At first he brushed it off. "I sleep okay, I guess. I get about 6 hours, maybe 6.5. But as we dug deeper, a different picture emerged. Robert's 6 hours were a battlefield. He worked late most nights, often staring at a computer screen until 11 p.m. Then he'd watch the news in bed for another hour to wind down. He'd fall asleep around midnight. But his wife mentioned he was a restless sleeper, often snoring loudly and sometimes gasping for air. He would wake up at 2 or 3 a.m., his mind racing about work, and lie awake for an hour or more before falling back into a light, unsatisfying slumber. He'd drag himself out of bed at 6 a.m., feeling exhausted, and his first act of the day was to down a large, strong cup of coffee just to feel human. Robert didn't think he had a sleep problem. He thought he had a brain problem. I explained to him that he had both, and that they were one and the same. His chronic sleep deprivation, likely complicated by undiagnosed sleep apnea, was the fuel for a raging fire of neuroinflammation. His brain fog wasn't a personality flaw, it was a symptom. His memory lapses weren't just him getting old. They were a sign of his brain's synapses struggling to function in a hostile, inflammatory environment. The first step was a sleep study, which confirmed moderate obstructive sleep apnea. He was prescribed a CPAP machine. The second step was a complete overhaul of what we called his sleep hygiene. We created a non-negotiable wind-down routine. All screens off 90 minutes before bed. No more news in the bedroom. He replaced it with a boring book or listening to calming music. We set a strict bedtime and wake-up time, even on weekends, to regulate his circadian rhythm. He cut out caffeine after 2 p.m. 3 months later, Robert came back for his follow-up. He was a different man. The change wasn't just noticeable. It was staggering. "The fog is gone," he said with a clarity in his eyes I hadn't seen before. "It's like someone cleaned a dirty window in my mind. I can think again. I can remember my clients' names. I haven't lost my keys in 2 months." He told me a story from the week before. He was in a board meeting, and a complex financial question came up. "A year ago," he said, "my mind would have gone blank. I would have stammered and felt that wave of panic. But this time the answer was just there, sharp and clear. I felt like myself again." Robert's story is not an isolated case. I have seen variations of this narrative play out hundreds of times in my career. People come to me convinced they are facing an inevitable, terrifying cognitive decline, only to discover that the root of their problem is the smoldering fire of inflammation being relentlessly fueled by poor sleep. His experience underscores the most critical point. The feeling of being mentally slow isn't just a side effect of tiredness. It's an active sign of your brain fighting a low-level battle. A battle it is slowly losing without the powerful reinforcement of restorative rest. So how do we transform rest from a passive activity into our most powerful defensive strategy? We have to understand what is supposed to happen when we finally fall into those deep restorative stages of sleep. It's not a passive shutdown. Your brain becomes a hive of activity, initiating a series of critical maintenance and repair protocols that are simply not possible during waking hours. The most important of these is run by what we call the glymphatic system. Think of it as your brain's dedicated nightly cleaning crew. During the day, as your brain's billions of neurons fire and consume energy, they produce metabolic waste products, including a sticky protein called beta amyloid. This is the same protein that, when it clumps together to form plaques, is a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. During waking hours, these waste products accumulate in the spaces between your brain cells. While you are in deep, slow-wave sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain cells actually shrink by up to 60%, widening the channels between them. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to be pumped through the brain, flushing out all of that accumulated metabolic waste from the day. The glymphatic system is 10 times more active during sleep than it is when you are awake. It is a waste clearance system of unparalleled efficiency, but it only truly turns on when you are deeply asleep. So when you cut your sleep short, or have fragmented, poor quality sleep, you are essentially forcing your brain's cleaning crew to go on strike. The toxins, including beta amyloid, are not effectively cleared. They remain, building up night after night, year after year, contributing to that inflammatory environment and increasing the long-term risk for neurodegenerative diseases. But that's not all. Deep sleep is also the time when the brain actively works to cool the fires of inflammation. During these stages, The production of those inflammatory cytokines is significantly reduced, while the release of anti-inflammatory molecules increases. The overactive microglia get the signal to stand down, to stop their attack, and return to their peaceful housekeeping duties. It is quite literally the period where your brain puts out the smoldering embers from the day's stresses. Furthermore, sleep is essential for a process called synaptic plasticity, which is the brain's ability to strengthen, weaken, and reorganize its connections. This is the physical basis of learning and memory. During sleep, your brain consolidates the important memories and learnings from the day, strengthening the relevant synaptic connections. It's like paving the important roads in that mental forest we talked about. At the same time, it prunes away the less important connections, which helps to reduce noise and improve the efficiency of your neural networks. Without sufficient sleep, this critical consolidation and pruning process is severely impaired. Memories remain fragile and are easily forgotten. The brain becomes cluttered and inefficient. Learning new things becomes incredibly difficult. Do you see now why sleep is not a luxury? It is not a passive state of doing nothing. It is the most active and potent form of cognitive enhancement therapy, immune modulation, and preventative medicine that exists. It is the time your brain heals itself, cleans itself, and rebuilds itself. To treat it as an optional or negotiable part of your day is to fundamentally misunderstand the biology of your own mind. Recognizing this power transforms our entire approach. We no longer ask, "How little sleep can I get away with?" We must start asking, "How can I create the optimal conditions for my brain to perform its essential nightly miracle?" That is how we shift from a defensive posture, worrying about decline, to an offensive one, actively building a more resilient, vibrant, and powerful mind. So the question becomes intensely practical. How do we do it? How do we extinguish this silent fire and protect our brains for the long term? It's about more than just setting an earlier alarm. It's about creating a holistic lifestyle that supports deep, restorative sleep. Let's build your action plan starting tonight. First, we must honor the rhythm of the dark. Your brain and body are governed by a 24-hour internal clock called the circadian rhythm. This clock dictates the release of hormones, including cortisol to wake you up and melatonin to help you sleep. The most powerful signal for this clock is light. For most of human history, this was simple. Bright sun during the day, darkness and fire at night. In the modern world, we have completely scrambled these signals. We live in dimly lit offices during the day and stare into intensely bright screens at night. This is a recipe for circadian disaster. Your action step is to get at least 15 to 20 minutes of direct sunlight exposure within the first hour of waking. No sunglasses. Let that bright light hit the photoreceptors in your eyes. This is the master switch that sets your internal clock for the day, anchoring your rhythm and programming your brain to release melatonin at the right time later that night. Conversely, you must create a period of digital twilight in the evening. At least 90 minutes before your intended bedtime, all screens must go off. The blue light emitted by phones, tablets, and computers is particularly potent at suppressing melatonin production, tricking your brain into thinking it's still daytime. This is non-negotiable. If you must use a screen, use blue light blocking glasses or apps, but total avoidance is best. Second, create a cool, dark, and quiet sanctuary. Your bedroom should be for two things only: sleep and intimacy. It is not a movie theater, a dining room, or a satellite office. Keep the temperature cool, ideally around 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 degrees Celsius. Your body's core temperature needs to drop to initiate and maintain sleep and a cool room facilitates this process. Use blackout curtains and cover or remove any electronics with LED lights to make the room as dark as possible. Even small amounts of light can disrupt sleep quality. And if you live in a noisy environment, consider earplugs or a white noise machine. Third, develop a wind-down ritual. You can't expect to go from a state of high-stress work or stimulating entertainment directly to deep sleep. You need a buffer zone. This is what your 90-minute screen-free period is for. Fill this time with calming activities. Take a warm bath or shower. The subsequent drop in body temperature as you get out signals your body it's time for sleep. Read a physical book, preferably something not too exciting. Listen to calming music or a podcast. Gentle stretching or meditation can be incredibly powerful. The point is to create a predictable sequence of events that tells your brain the day is over. It is now safe to power down and begin repairs. Fourth, watch what and when you consume. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours, meaning that if you have a cup of coffee at 3 p.m., a quarter of that caffeine is still circulating in your system at 9 p.m., disrupting your ability to fall into deep sleep, even if you don't feel wired. Make a strict rule: no caffeine after 2 p.m. Alcohol is another major sleep disruptor. While it may make you feel drowsy and help you fall asleep faster, it wreaks havoc on your sleep architecture later in the night. It suppresses REM sleep and often causes rebound awakenings in the early hours of the morning. Avoid alcohol, especially in the 3 to 4 hours before bed. Also, be mindful of large, heavy meals close to bedtime, which can cause indigestion and interfere with sleep. Fifth, feed your brain an anti-inflammatory diet throughout the day. What you eat provides the building blocks for your brain and can either help quell or fuel the flames of inflammation. Focus on a diet rich in whole foods. Think colorful fruits and vegetables packed with antioxidants. Prioritize healthy fats, especially omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish like salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds. These are incredibly powerful anti-inflammatory agents for the brain. Use spices like turmeric, which contains the active compound curcumin, and ginger liberally in your cooking. Conversely, you must aggressively minimize or eliminate the foods that promote inflammation. These are primarily ultra-processed foods, sugary drinks, refined carbohydrates like white bread and pastries, and unhealthy trans fats found in many packaged and fried foods. Think of sugar as pouring gasoline on that smoldering fire in your brain. Every time you eat a healthy, whole foods-based meal, you are actively choosing to build an anti-inflammatory brain. Finally, move your body during the day. Regular physical activity is one of the most effective ways to improve sleep quality and reduce inflammation. It helps regulate your circadian rhythm, reduce stress, and can increase the amount of deep, slow-wave sleep you get. You don't need to run a marathon. Even a brisk 30-minute walk each day, preferably outdoors in the morning light, can make a significant difference. Just try to avoid intense exercise in the 2 to 3 hours before bed, as it can be too stimulating for some people. This might seem like a long list, but these are not just tips or life hacks. These are fundamental pillars of brain health. They are the tools you need to take control, to stop being a passive victim of cognitive decline and become the active, deliberate architect of your own mental vitality. As you stand at the crossroads of your future health, remember this: the most powerful tool for securing a sharp, clear, and vibrant mind for decades to come is not a pill, a program, or a complex technology. It is the simple, profound, and restorative power of sleep. The smoldering fire of chronic inflammation is a real and present danger, but it is not a life sentence. You have the ability starting tonight to stop fueling it. You have the power to create the conditions for your brain to heal itself, to clear away the debris, and to rebuild its precious connections. So I leave you with one final transformative piece of advice. Don't view these changes as a chore. Don't see an earlier bedtime as something you're losing. See it for what it truly is, the most important investment you will ever make in yourself. You are investing in future memories with your loved ones. You are investing in your ability to learn, grow, and contribute. You are investing in the clarity and vitality that allows you to experience the richness of your life to its fullest. Your brain is the custodian of your entire life's story, your passions, your wisdom, your love. Protecting it isn't a passive duty. It is the most active and noble pursuit you can undertake. Begin tonight. Choose one thing from this list and commit to it. And then tomorrow, choose another. Small, consistent steps are what extinguish the fire and build a lifetime of mental resilience. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. What is one change you plan to make to your sleep routine? Share it in the comments below so we can inspire and support one another. And if you found this information valuable, please share it with someone you care about. You might just change their life.